Hi there, and welcome back to Goddess Guidance. So today we're going to be talking about the quantum principles and how you can apply them in your life. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So the first quantum principle is the principle of complementarity. So this is backed by the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So the uncertainty principle states that if you have a particle and you know its mass, you know its location, then you're not going to know anything about its momentum, right? Because it's stationary, because you're seeing it in one place. If you know a particle's momentum, then you're not going to know anything about its mass or its location, because it's moving, right? And we see this play out in our own lives, in the way that if you're constantly on the move, and you're constantly busy, you're constantly on the go, then you're not going to know much about where you are in life right now. You're not going to have clarity on the present moment, which is super, super important when you want to manifest something. And vice versa, if you're fixed on your current circumstances and your current position in life, then you're not going to have any clarity about where you're going because you're fixed on where you are. So let's get a little bit deeper into this. The uncertainty principle also shows that energy and time are inversely connected. So that means that if you're too focused on time and you're kind of stuck on time watching your clock, then you're not accessing the infinite potential energy that is available to you. And when you tap into the infinite energy that is available to you in the present moment, then time just kind of seems to stop existing, right? Time starts to move really quickly. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this if you're at work and you're really bored and you want to go home and you're looking at the clock and you see, oh, I have 5 hours left of this shift, and you keep looking at the clock, then you're just going to feel really low energy, you're just going to be wanting to go home, and your frequency and your vibe is going to be very low. But if you're at work and you're focusing on the present moment and you're focusing on the task that's right in front of you and you're not concerned about how many hours you have left in your shift, then doesn't the shift seem to go way faster? So you can also see this in meditation. When you're in a really meditative state, you start to become in coherence with the present moment and with the energy of the universe, the oneness of the universe. We'll get more into that later. Then time will seem to kind of just disappear. And before you know it, 20 minutes have passed when you're in meditation, and it feels like only 5 minutes have passed. So in order to apply this to your everyday life, every once in a while ask yourself, when am I right now? Am I stuck in the past? Because if you're stuck in the past, then you don't have the awareness of the energy that's available to you in the present moment. You're missing out on all of this potential and all of the different exciting ways that you can go in life because you're stuck in the past. So you're kind of cut off from the energy that's available to you to manifest the life that you want to create. But if you're focused on the present moment, if you stay mindful, if you keep bringing yourself back to mindfulness throughout your day, okay, I'm sure if you watched a lot of manifestation gurus and people who talk about the law of attraction, or people like Eckhart Tolle, they talk about the power of the present moment, the power of the now, right? Well, that's because when you're focused on the now, you are then tapped into the infinite potential energy that is around you, that the universe has to provide to you so that you can use that energy to co-create with the universe, to create your own reality, to get momentum towards the life that you are desiring to achieve. Okay, so the second quantum principle is the principle of contextuality. Did I say that right? Or contextuality. There you go. It's contextuality. Context. Contextuality. Anyway, this principle is explained in the observer effect. So what's the observer effect? Well, let me ask you a question. Is light a wave, or is it a particle? Well, according to the observer effect, it's both at the same time. So that means light is both little separate little particles going in one direction, right? And bouncing off of things and showing colors and all that stuff, right? And it's also a wave that's just going out, going out and then bouncing off of stuff and then showing colors. Now, Newtonian physics that says that light can only be one or the other, so which one is it? Quantum physics is now showing that light is both. Now, how in the world is that possible, and how in the world do we know that? Well, we're going to get deep into that in another video. I don't want to throw too much information at you right now because this stuff can seem kind of complex and may take some thinking and some processing, so I'm going to give it to you in little bite-sized pieces. So the observer effect shows that quantum behavior is determined by the conditions that the observer gives to something. So what happened was scientists set up an experiment to see whether or not light was a particle or whether or not light was a wave. So scientists found that if they set up the experiment to see particles, to see if light was a particle, then light acted like a particle. Then if scientists set up the experiment to see if light was a wave, then for some reason light started to act like a wave. The light behaved in accordance to how the scientists decided to set up their experiment. And as you probably know, everything we see is in the visible light spectrum. And light doesn't have a mind of its own. Light acts and transforms itself based on the conditions that we give it. So that means that we give meaning to everything that we see and experience by the assumptions we make about them and by the very act of just observing them. If something occurs in your reality and you observe it, automatically you make an assumption about what that event was and what that event means. And then based on the assumption you're making about that event, you're creating that in your reality. Then that event means that assumption that you're giving it. So if someone looks at you wrong, you observe their facial expression, your brain assumes they're looking at me wrong because they hate me, then you're giving that meaning to that event, and they're looking at you because they hate you. Or perhaps you see them make that facial expression at you, and you think, they must have something in their eye, and it's bothering them, so they're making a face, and they just happen to look over at me. So therefore, once you've made that assumption, then it is. They really did just happen to look over at you at the same time that they happen to make a weird face. The meanings to things, meanings to events, it's all dependent on the assumption you make. This is the law of assumption. If you follow Neville Goddard, this is what the law of assumption means. You take absolutely everything you see in front of you, and you get to decide what it means. You get to make your own assumptions about it, whatever assumption you want to make, and it becomes fact. It becomes objective fact because you decided. The observer and the observed are connected. So you, in whatever you see happening in front of you, are connected. There's no outside force that is determining what everything in front of you means. You decide what it means. And if you see something happening in front of you that you don't like, because you're connected to everything, you can change the meaning of what happened in front of you based on the assumptions that you choose. So, someone breaks up with you. You feel rejected. You feel like you're a terrible person and no one's gonna love you and they hate you and they're always gonna hate you, right? You can decide to choose that. You can decide to observe this breakup and choose that that's what that means. That you're gonna be alone forever. Or, because you're connected, you can choose to assume they broke up with me because they just need a little time, but they're gonna be back because I'm awesome. That's just the way that it is. That's what that means. And it'll become fact. because that's just the way that the universe works. And you really have to understand that we came to Earth, each one of us came to Earth, to co-create with the universe. We came here to create events, to see them play out, to give meaning to them, so that we can continue creating and we can learn and evolve, and also so that we can just create something and experience it. We're here to give meaning to things, because if a tree falls down in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did it make a sound? No, it did not make a sound because no one's there to hear it. Now this is assuming that there's no birds around or anything, right? It's just trees. There has to be an observer. So you, as a person who has come to Earth, you have taken the role as the observer, and that gives you immense power to influence reality and to influence the entire universe. Because you are connected to everything, remember? Alright, so let's get to the next principle. That is the principle of consciousness. This is going to be a really, really quick one. Consciousness is primal. Consciousness is not something that we have developed over time and it's like this new technology that we all of a sudden have and we're special because we have it, because humans have it, right? No. So we have been programmed to believe that matter influences our consciousness. The matter is the be-all, end-all. There's nothing you can do about it. And the things that happen in front of you are just going to influence your mind, and sorry, that's just the way it is. When in fact, matter is derivative of consciousness. Matter comes from consciousness. Consciousness is primal. Consciousness was there from the very, 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 very beginning. Why do you think we have trees? Why do you think we have galaxies? Why do you think we have stars? Because there was something conscious that created it, and that's source. Everything you see around you, the trees, the rocks, the plants, the stars, everything has consciousness. The universe is not dead. The world is not dead. Everything is consciousness. So I'm going to save the last quantum principle for the next video because it's going to be kind of a long one. So I want to dedicate an entire video to that one. So stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's super, super important if you want to co-create your reality to understand exactly how this works. And if you did enjoy it, please like this video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.